Okay, team, it's time to talk about the reverse pitch. Does everybody in here know what a reverse pitch is? Think about it. You know, having been in the venture field for a long time, periodically, thankfully not too often, I found myself working hard to see if I could invest in this round of this company. So it was, rather than having the company pitch me only, I was trying to convince them how tall and good looking I was and so forth. And so at a corporate level, when you want to partner or license or acquire, you know, periodically it's a competitive process and you have to convince somebody, okay, that, you know, you would be the right partner. So that's the reverse pitch that we're going to highlight today. And so each of the panelists here are going to spend a few minutes, first introduce themselves, sometimes again, and sometimes for the first time at the meeting, and then going to give that highlight for their, you know, the strategic company, the leader that they represent. You know, what's their pitch? And so, Mark, maybe we'll start with you.
Great. Thank you, Bill. So I want to thank the OIS team for allowing me to, in many cases, this will be your first introduction to Harrow. A lot of you are probably saying, well, who is Harrow? And this audience in particular is perfect for Harrow because Harrow was founded by entrepreneurs and innovators. And there's three words that really describe who Harrow is. We're new, we're growing, and we're highly focused. To give you a sense of what I mean by new, Andrew's company, Bausch Lomb, is over 170 years old. Well, Harrow's just over 100 months old. We have about 300 or so employees. We're based in Nashville, Tennessee, and we are a public company listed on the NASDAQ. We're growing. In 2022, we did about $80 or so million in revenue. This year, we'll do north of 130, hopefully over $140 million in revenue, and next year, over 180 million and hopefully over 200 million in revenue if some of our launches go as we hope. I like to think about the leading indicator of where a company is going. If you follow where the salespeople are going, they generally flock to where the money is. And I think if you look on LinkedIn, you'll see there's a lot of amazing talent in the sales area of ophthalmology that is coming to join us at Harrow, which is very exciting. And we're focused. We're eye care, we're US-centric, and we're pharma. We believe in accessibility and affordability. Those are founding concepts of our company. And we believe in partnership with eye care professionals to help them preserve the gift of sight for their patients. In terms of where our growth is going to come from 1, 2, 3 years out, some of you know in the last 2 years, we've acquired 18 FDA-approved products in 5 separate transactions. Did 2 transactions with Novartis, another transaction with Santen. We bought a drug called IHEEZO from a Swiss-based pharma company called Synthetica. And then we're really excited about the deal that we did with Novaleak to acquire VEVYE, which we're going to launch here soon. It's a chronic dry eye disease drug. It'll be the second semifluorinated alkane in the US market. So that's where our growth is going to come from IHEEZO, which we launched last May, from this launch of VEVYE, which is an amazing new entrant into the chronic dry eye disease market. And we own Triessence. We're hoping to relaunch Triessence for those retina docs out there. In 2024, it should be available again, which we're excited about. And then finally, we actually funded a company called Melt Pharmaceuticals a few years back, and it is entering into phase 3 studies for a novel sedation medication for ophthalmic surgeries. A lot of folks don't think about IVs and opioids, but this is an opioid-free, IV-free medication. So we see a lot of growth coming from Melt. Hopefully it completes its phase 3 study. We're trying to raise $25 million in this really tough market, and I'm really happy to tell all of you that we've actually raised about 21 million of the 25 million at an upsized valuation. So we're having success with that raise. And I was asked, what would you like in your portfolio that you currently don't have? And I think that we're really open to listening. We believe in quality science that has an impact, quality opportunities that allow us to meet this mission of accessibility and affordability in partnership with eye care professionals. And then finally, we need quality people that understand how to transact and also are realistic about valuation. We like to talk to folks at really all stages. I like to think about doing deals. I've done, before Harrow, over 200 financings in various different companies, and we've done a lot of eye care deals in Harrow recently. But there's sort of a greed-desperation continuum, and I think that good deals are done when people aren't too greedy or too desperate, so somewhere in the middle is a great place. And it really just depends on when the entrepreneur is ready to speak. We're always here.
Okay, thanks very much. What about Glaukos?
So thank you so much, Bill, and thank you to the audience for allowing us to make a case that Glaucus truly has been a great partner and will continue to be a great partner to many of you as we are moving innovative treatments to patients who are often facing dire unmet medical needs. I also wanted to thank Craig and Maureen and the team for another fantastic meeting. It's just such a pleasure to come here to San Diego every year. So with that, I would like to start my case by introducing Glaukos as a company and briefly describing some portion of the pipeline that comes from the in-licensing activities. And then I would like to highlight how we generally structure deals, what kind of deals we look for, and how we collaborate once we actually sign the deal. So as you know, Glaukos is a US-based publicly traded company that focuses on development new pharmaceuticals and medical devices targeting unmet medical need in glaucoma, cornea diseases, and retina diseases. We have 7 products approved, and we are in 17 markets worldwide and continue to grow our worldwide footprint. As you know, Glaukos was originally formed more than 20 years ago to transform glaucoma pharmacotherapy and medical device therapy. And that led initially to creation of the iStent product that truly revolutionized the way we treat surgical glaucoma and led to the creation of new class of medical devices, the trabecular bypass medical devices, and the mixed marketplace as we know it. And Glaukos continues to be the dominant player in this marketplace in the US and worldwide. But beyond iStent, our ambitions have grown far beyond, and based on our broadened ambitions, focusing not only on glaucoma and keratoconus, but also encompassing AMD, DME, RVO, presbyopia, dry eye, and a host of orphan ophthalmic diseases. We have invested more than $500 million over the last 5 years, and will invest more over the next 5 years in truly building out a pipeline as a combination of homegrown research as well as in-licensed products. And so in this pipeline, we have so-called technological platforms, each of which is capable of spawning multiple paradigm-shifting products that are focused on challenging and disrupting the traditional paradigm of topical eye drop use with its many shortcomings. And one platform I would like to highlight is the iLink platform, because it came from in-licensing opportunities and Glaukos acquisition of Avidro. So iLink is based on bioactivated pharmaceuticals, wherein we perfuse molecule into the cornea and activate it with UV light generated by LED or laser. And this is a breakthrough treatment for keratoconus. So Glaukos acquired the Generation 1 first-in-class, best-in-class Photrexa. But beyond that, we continue to innovate and build value of this in-licensed technology. So today, we have a Generation 2 program in a completely enrolled second phase 3 study and planning NDA for next year. And at the same time, we already have Generation 3 treatment for keratoconus based on the same technology in 2 parallel phase 2 studies. So this is how we build value based on in-licensed technology for the patients, for the partner, and for your investors who are looking for equitable exit. So let me describe what kind of deals we look for generally and how we operate. We look at and evaluate over 100 opportunities every year. So that means that we look at new deal every 3-4 days, or approximately 2 new deals every week. Over the last 6 years, we have been able to close about 20 deals, And they range from early stage to commercial-based products and from publicly traded companies. So generally speaking, we are stage agnostic. And maybe good examples are the currently announced collaboration between Stewart Therapeutics and Glaucos on neuroprotection in glaucoma, which is based on very strong preclinical data. And on the other end of the spectrum, we can cite the example of acquisition of Avidro, which was acquisition of a publicly traded company with a commercial product at a value of approximately $500 million. From the standpoint of the deal structure, we have a great tolerance for many different deal structures, ranging from basic intellectual property assignment to R&D collaboration, where we combine the talents of our company with the partner company's team, to local license, global license. Local license is exampled by our deal with Santen Pharmaceuticals on Presiflow, for example, or full acquisition of a preclinical to commercial stage company is exampled by Avidro. Some of the factors that drive our positive deal flow are based on the fact that we are very risk tolerant. So we can absorb risk at any stage, be it early stage technical risk, or be it the late stage commercial reimbursement risk based on the innate capabilities that we have in-house. Second, we generally move very fast. For example, the Avidro acquisition, which was a transaction between two publicly traded companies, was completed in less than 3 months. Three, we accommodate broad range of collaborations and balance between partner driving the collaboration, Glaucus drives the collaboration, or we collaborate equally. And fourth, we are a strategic partner that looks for the right answer, not the first answer. Meaning, we are not going to run away as a strategic at a first failed experiment. We understand it takes grit and determination to innovate, and we truly stand by our partner companies and your technologies. So with that, we feel Glaukos is different, as we have been advancing and will continue to advance multiple disruptive treatments towards patients who need them. And I hope we have made a persuasive case that we would be a good partner to you and your technologies. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Thomas. What about Bausch?
So when you're 170 years old, it's hard not to be the oldest company in the room. And so sitting next to my colleagues here from both Harrow and from Glaukos, relatively new companies to 170-year history, there's a lot that our company at Bausch Lomb has been through over the last several years. And as many of you know, the years prior to the last 18 months or so, with some of the changes that we've had in leadership, have been fairly tumultuous for Bausch Lomb. Yet we've emerged now with a different leadership team, with a different focus, and with the absolute commitment and clarity of strategy to continue being a leader in eye health for the next 170 years. We've made a very clear bet in ocular surface to advance our leadership position through the launch of MIEBO, which over the last 10 weeks has been extremely exciting in the rapid adoption that we see from both the optometry and the ophthalmology community. And as you also may be aware, we recently did a very large commercial stage acquisition in the purchase of Xiidra. And so with the combination of those two assets, we get to look at ocular surface now in a very different way that no one really has in the past, of being able to treat the broad nature of the disease etiology that we've heard for so many years from physicians, and for what patients are crying out are some differences between the ways that you can treat this disease without only looking at the aqueous deficient tear production aspect of this disease, but now also looking at evaporation as well. That scientific curiosity is what will continue to drive Bausch in the way we think about innovation moving forward. And so we'll continue to invest not only in these two broad commercial opportunities, but as we rebuild a pipeline. From a portfolio standpoint, we will have the largest sales force in ocular surface in the United States, full stop. We'll invest more money in 2024 than anyone ever has in dry eye. And so those two facts alone will make Bausch & Lomb the leader in dry eye as we move forward in the remainder of this decade. When you think about a reverse pitch, it's also, I'd like to point out, good when the person who's the judge in this panel you try to match his outfit and try and look nearly as handsome as Dr. Link,
You got the memo.
right? So it's always good as an entrepreneur to know your audience and know who the customer is in the end of the day. And there is no one who is more important to the life cycle of innovation and of this community than Flying L and to Bill Link. So certainly give Bill a round of applause. So look, as we think about Bausch & Lomb today, tomorrow, and as we move into the future, we'll continue not only to innovate, we will be aggressive and we'll be active in the manner in which we're looking to rebuild this pipeline and rebuild our portfolio. That is not only limited to ocular surface. We have hired expertise in some of the best drug development scientists and biologists in the industry. Keith Lewis, who's sitting at the table in front of me, will be the busiest guy in eye care following this meeting because of the number of people that have come to him. Anthony Wallace, who leads our U.S. surgical business, is here as well, and the amount of new innovations that he talked about on his panel earlier this morning are another clear focal point of Bausch & Lomb. And we get to do something different than most others in this space. Being that we are organized in 3 business verticals of surgical, pharmaceutical, and consumer and vision care, it is now looking at the co-travel and covariance between those 3 different business verticals as a unique company that can think cross-functional of how drugs fit in the pharmaceutical, surgical, and vision care marketplaces and how we can bring the best of those innovations that are multifocal, right? And when you think about that from a customer perspective, ultimately of a physician and a patient, when a physician sees a patient, they don't see a surgical or a pharmaceutical or a vision care company. They see one company. They see Bausch & Lomb, and one that can service all 3 of those aspects together. And so that's what I'm most excited about as we move forward and why I think we're a great partner of choice.
Very good. Thanks for that. And one of the things I always wonder about from the strategics and the leaders, the emerging leaders and the established leaders, is when you're looking at opportunities, how do you balance what I call internal innovation and external innovation, the balance of doing it yourself versus bringing it in from outside? So I'd like to hear from each of the panelists what your perspective, what the company's perspective is on internal versus external. Go ahead.
So let me start. For us from the start, we make no difference between innovation that comes from outside or the inside. For us, it's all innovation. And so from the first moment when we approach a potential partner, the BD team works very closely with the R&D team. The BD team leads generally until the deal is signed, and then the R&D team leads and closely collaborates with the partner. In our portfolio, once the deal is signed, the partner product has equal position as any homegrown product, and it's treated equally. So it's equal firstborn as any of other products, and can draw from the many advantages that we have built in-house that support our homegrown platform, including, let's say, the seamless incorporation of the medical device professionals working with the pharmaceutical scientists side by side, which is quite unique in the industry, under the same roof, in the same building, or from the fact that Glaukos runs all of its own clinical trials. We do not outsource anything. And so you would be able to draw from these advantages, whether it's a homegrown or in-licensed product, or advantage of the in-house manufacturing that prevents CRLs and 483s and delays in FDA approvals, when generally Glaukos manufactures the most difficult products in-house in our Burlington, Massachusetts facility or in our San Clemente, Orange County, California facilities. And so from the start, once the deal is signed, we do not differentiate between homegrown or in-licensed products. They are all equal in our eyes, and they all need to provide the right value for the patient, for the clinician, ultimately for the payer, and ultimately for the investors as well.
Got it. Mark, you're primarily outsource focused, is that right?
Yes. So, well, to a certain extent, first of all, humility is a core value at Harrow. So we don't care whether it comes from a product that we've innovated or from an entrepreneur outside of our company. Over the last several years, we've been engaged in what we call strategic cannibalization. What does that mean? We've been in the compounding business for the last 8 years. And so the reason why we're excited about VEVYE, which is a new chronic dry disease medication that contains 0.1% cyclosporin, in addition to this semifluorinated alkane, is because we've compounded for tens of thousands of dry eye patients 0.1% cyclosporin. The reason why we're excited about Melt Pharmaceuticals coming to market, completing its phase 3 study next year, is because we compound a product called the MKO Melt. Now, it's not an FDA-approved product, it's compounded, but our hope is to have an FDA-approved version to strategically cannibalize that compounded product, see it go away, and offer eye care professionals an FDA-approved product. So there is a lot of innovation internal, but we're also interested in external innovation. Nobody sells more compounded atropine, I think, than we do. So we would love to strategically cannibalize our atropine business. So there's a lot that we can do with that model, but we don't care where it comes from, internal, external.
Got it.
You know, Bill, I think it starts with really understanding who you are, right? And so I would have loved to have been an NBA basketball player, but I can't shoot it all that well. I'm not that tall, and I can't really dribble. That makes you in a really difficult position to play in the NBA.
You can't dribble?
Can't dribble, right?
Interesting.
And so that's why I started playing golf, and I'm not that bad of a golfer. I'm okay. And so what do I mean by that? I think when you look at Bausch Lomb, you look at our history, we've had a history of fantastic formulation science. And so when you think about small molecule formulation, we're really good at that. And so when you think about looking at external companies in partnership and you think about small molecule formulation science, we're an excellent partner in that space. If you want to talk about biologics, drug delivery type of solutions, we probably need to go out and buy that type of capability, right? And so I think any one of these companies, and even for the entrepreneurs when you're looking, you have to think about your capability and how it blends with our capability in terms of where we're trying to take our respective companies in doing that. And so that's what I'm always going to look at. You know, does that really outside, is that playing in the NBA, or is that an area where I can really perform?
Let's talk about the balance of anterior segment, posterior segment.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great segue into that, Bill, right? And right now, in the anterior segment space, certainly in our pharma business, that's an area where we have strong commercial capabilities. We have, increasing development, regulatory, clinical, expertise as well as we continue to build out. So I think when we think about Retina, we're hiring some more of that capability and expertise within the company, but that's where we need to continue to support and to surround B&L with some new blood and some new expertise so that we can become powerful in that space as well.
So in terms of acquisition targets or partner targets, someone that has deep expertise and capability in the retina might be a bit more attractive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, what are you thinking?
Well, we make drug for about 1 out of every 5 cataract surgeries in the United States. So we understand that market, the perioperative medications for cataract surgery, make drug for probably over 60% of the LASIK procedures. And we're also knee-deep in this ocular surface opportunity with VEVYE. We also own Triessence, and we also own a product called IHEEZO. IHEEZO is the first FDA-approved topical anesthetic in about 14 years. It's the only J-coded topical anesthetic in the market. It's being used for intravitreal injections to anesthetize the eye, and it's reimbursed. For us, we're not going to try and compete with Regeneron or Roche. We're a really small company. We hope to one day reach those peaks, but that's how we play in retina, is through IHEEZO, through Triessence when it comes to market, hopefully next year. But I would say we're more anterior segment focused.
Got it. Tomas?
So for Glaucus, both anterior segment and posterior segments are important targets and important areas. Clearly in the anterior segment, we have best-in-class portfolio in glaucoma, ranging from treatment of mild patients all the way to most severe. And in the cornea, we have the best-in-class and first-in-class treatment for keratoconus. On the retina, we leverage our unique core skill set in drug delivery. And so we are excited to share that we are starting this month our first Retina clinical program, where we target wet AMD patients with our multi-kinase inhibitor that's treated with an implant that showed a preclinical efficacy for 2 years after a single dose in attenuating vascular leakage. And so our venture into Retina leverages our unique existing skill set in drug delivery. And we are furthering it by considering neuroprotection for glaucoma to be a retinal indication as well. And to us, that's one of the most exciting fields to be at right now.
Another area to think about is filling gaps, okay, in the portfolio. Maybe you're losing a proprietary position in the future, et cetera. So why don't each of you share a bit on how do you prioritize the interesting targets out there? Near-term revenue contribution, margin improvement, adding more products to the salesman's bag. How do you prioritize? And why don't you go first with Bausch there?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think, Bill, it comes back to what's our strategy at Bausch and what are we thinking about right now as a company, and then that kind of elucidates the gaps that you have and as you think about the portfolio and in the markets in which you operate. And so clearly, as I've articulated here in these couple of minutes, ocular surface with MIEBO and with Xiidra, that's a key focus for us, certainly in U.S. markets and markets where we can launch those products outside the United States. When I think about OUS markets, there's a portfolio rationalization and a cleanup that needs to happen just because of a change in strategy between how the company was run on a legacy basis versus how we want to take Bausch into the future. And so by looking through those things systematically, that elucidates the gaps that you have, and then that allows you to start to think about how do you need to fill those things in from an overall portfolio strategy. So right now, I think about 2024, 2025, 2026, certainly that's executing in commercial expertise in the ocular surface dry eye space, and that's the number one strategic priority for us. Secondarily to that, as I said earlier, is rebuilding a pipeline and thinking about how do we make sure that we're managing for a revenue cliff or revenue gap that can occur as we get into the next decade. And that's why restocking the pipeline then becomes that critical gap for us to think about. The good news is there's a lot of opportunity in this room, and there's a lot of opportunity for Bausch as we think about what those gaps are so that we can become and continue to lead within different spaces across therapeutic eye care.
Yeah, Mark?
So we're a new company, we're young, and we're a small company. We have purchased 18 commercial products, so we're interested in things that we can sell. We are a commercially focused business. At this stage of our development, we hope one day to invest in earlier stage innovation. We are investing in a phase 3 asset. So I think as we mature and become larger and more of a force in the ophthalmic pharma space, and we're just US-centric, as I said earlier, we will be able to, I think, get in earlier, earlier in the clinical phases of the development of these products. But for us right now, we're interested in things that we can sell and we can generate revenue and profits. And the one thing I think that Andrew and Tomas and I can all agree on is market access is mission critical. Figuring out how you can actually turn a product or a service into money and get paid is, I don't want to say paramount, but it's probably
Difficult.
It's probably paramount.
You can use that word, yeah.
You can have the best drug in the world, and if you can't get paid, forget about it. And so when I have conversations with entrepreneurs and folks that are building new, exciting products, I'm interested in how we can get paid ultimately. And an entrepreneur that understands market access and the realities of market access, boy, that's a relief.
That's a great comment.
So, Bill, to answer your question, we effectively maximize the value of both strategies. We very assertively protect the existing market by continuing to innovate on the existing product. And I'll example it by the original iStent. That was the first product, then came iStent Inject, then iStent Inject W, and now iStent Infinite. And so we continue to evolve and improve the product to offer incremental value and to protect the existing market and often expand it. For example, the iStent Infinite was the first trabecular bypass standalone device approved by US FDA, and we got that 510(k) clearance last year. We also expand, and that's exemplified by our addition of the iLution Travoprost eyelid cream product that lowers IOP, and that will go into clinical development this month. That also, the expansion is also exemplified by iDose, which is our intracameral implant that provides 3 years of pharmacotherapy after a single dose with PDUFA date December 22nd. And so we maximize the value of both strategies. We assertively defend what we have by incremental improvement and expand via new paradigm-shifting products.
Okay, very good. We're going to wrap now, and thank you to the panelists and the emerging leaders in the field. Thank you, all of the participants today. Very interesting, high-impact sessions, both yesterday and today. OIS still has an important role in our community, and so Craig and Maureen and your team, thanks for pulling this together. And we're going to call it a day, and I understand the bar is open.